Om Shanti. Namaste. Greetings of peace from Bharat to all our Bharatvasis living in this part of the world. Today it gives me a great pleasure to be with you all here and share on this beautiful subject, operational mechanism for Hindus to reach the unreached areas. And our previous speakers in the previous session mentioned that yes, Hindus are all over the globe today, but still somewhere we need to join our hands together and be a part of oneness, so that the diversified energy can be united and together we can work wonders, we can do miracles on this planet Earth. Because we all know that Bharat and its culture, the Hindu culture, the Hindu civilization, is the most ancient of all. Our civilization is around 5,000 years ago. And the Hindu civilization roots are very deep. Initially it was not Hindus, definitely, but we originated from the Sanatan Dharma. It reminds me of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, when God promises Arjuna that I can incarnate on this world to abolish irreligiousness and establish one religion, one Sanatan Dharma. So that means our Hindus' original Sanskriti civilization is originated from the Sanatan Dharma. And when we say Sanatan, Sanatan means the eternal truth. Nowhere in Bhagavad Gita God talks about Hinduism or Hinduism. Because Sanatan during that time was universally accepted throughout the world. The impact has been seen in different civilizations also, and therefore we are proud to feel ourselves that we are the ones whose Sanatan religion was established by God Himself at the time of irreligiousness. But then further, when he talks to Arjuna about stabilizing in the consciousness or stabilizing in Swadharma, here we just have to realize what is our Swadharma. Or we can say what is the Swadharma of the entire humanity. Because if he was talking about Swadharma, that is Kshatriya Dharma to Arjuna, then Gita is not just meant for Kshatriyas. If Gita is for the entire humanity, then the Swadharma of each and every individual is connected with that eternal truth. So, we believe that the Sanatan religion established by God Himself also refers to our Swadharma as the Dharma of the soul, the spirit. Because spirituality means that which is connected to the spirit. And so, what is the Dharma of the spirit? The original eternal Dharma of the spirit is some basic values. That is love, purity, peace, happiness, bliss, the strength and the wisdom. That is why Arjuna was given the wisdom first of what our Swadharma is and how we can stabilize our mind in that consciousness of Swadharma. Gradually then, we listen in Bhagavad Gita that he talks about Manmanabha. And this shloka comes 2 times in Bhagavad Gita. Manmanabha. That means connect your mind into me. And then far in the end, 18th chapter, he mentions about Sarvadharma Parityaj Mamikam Sharanam. Leave all the bodily religions. Today maybe in this world, we have come in this consciousness of all the bodily religions. And therefore, we need to shed off all those bodily religions which are becoming or which are diversifying us, and that is how we have all become separate, even with being Bharatvasis. So that is why Sarvadharma Parityaj, I need to abolish all the bodily religions and stabilize myself in that consciousness that I am an eternal being, a peaceful being, a pure being. So at the soul level, we are able to connect ourselves with the Supreme Being, and this is how, with His strength and power, we are able to let the wisdom flow and unite ourselves in a beautiful way. So, Bhagavad Gita is the holy text for the entire humanity, and that is why it is being translated, which has complete spiritual wisdom in it, which uplifts us from a religious state to a spiritual plane. And when we are uplifted at the spiritual plane, we are able to unite ourselves in a better way. And that will be accepted by all the religions of the world as well. Because at that level, there is no diversification. And so, we are able to reach those areas also where our Sanatana Dharma has not reached. So, operational mechanism for the Hindus to reach out to the unreached areas means we need to come together under the canopy of spirituality, which is universally accepted by all the religions of the world as well. And this is how we have experienced that Brahmakumaris working in about 150 countries of the world today also, we are able to gather the people from all different backgrounds, because spirituality, and in the spiritual sense, we all come together. So with this, I will now invite our speakers also, which are so experienced and who have traveled from different parts of the country and the world here to share their insights also. First of all, I would like to invite our brother Paramadvaiti, Swami D.A. Paramadvaiti, and he is a special gem, I would say, because he says, I have no home. I'm homeless. And I've been traveling around. Definitely a special soul, a special gem, who's loved by God and who spreads the wisdom of God in different parts. Swami B.A. Paramadvaiti is the founder of and the spiritual master of VRINDA an association of Vaishnava devotees of Bhagavan Krishna in the Gaudiya lineage of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is the founder of Vrindavan Institute for Vaishnava Culture and Studies, General Secretary of World Vaishnava Association, representative of Vishwa Hindu Parishad for South America, Inbound Yoga School and Oida Therapy Institute, founder of a foundation of ancient wisdom, was born in Germany but now lives a life as a traveling Jain. He has rarely spent more than 3 days in a place for the last 20 or so years. So such a special soul we have with us. And I invite him, Brother Paramadvaiti.
Anuttama ki jai.
Thank you.
Gangama ki jai. Gomata ki jai. Vedama ki jai. Most respected audience, fellow guys accompanying us, my Dandavat pranams to all of you, and Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Simate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauramani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shivati Paskatya Jasatharine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarine. Reaching out to the world with Sanatana Dharma, that idea is there in the heart of empathy, compassion, and love. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Prithiviti achayati nagarad gram sarvatra prachara hoi vimurana. In every town and village in the world, my name will be sung. Well, he said that 500 years ago, and his followers believed it even then. But only when Bhaktivedanta Swami actually sent his disciples to go all around the world, of which I was one fortunate one, many places of the world first time heard about Bhagavad Gita, first time heard about Hinduism, first time heard about the Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I was born in Germany, re-educated in India by my guru, and then sent to South America in 1976. That was a beautiful discovery because I met and I found a world which I didn't even know it existed. Now, the most beautiful experience was that in these South American countries, a deep feeling for Hindu Dharma is dormant. It's there. It can be seen by the incredible amount of youth doing Bollywood dancing, as well as you can see it. There's tons of people that are very much identified with yoga, Ayurveda, simple living. And I went into the main cities. We established something like 150 centers around South America of Vedic awareness. You can so-called eco-yoga farms. And in this way, we had the first-hand experience that we would come in contact with people who are our brothers and sisters in potentiality, but they still didn't know very much about it. Now, converting other people or proselytizing is not very highly appreciated anywhere. It's a very questionable thing. But sharing your heart with love is openly appreciated. By the way, we have a mouth, we have an ear. For what? So we can hear good things and share them with others. So it wasn't like of putting down anybody else. It was just sharing the thirsty people in the world with Sanatana Dharma, because there's such an incredible thirst for truth, for a true brother-sister relationship understanding, this Vasudhaiva, Kutumbakam, this where does it come from? But it became very interesting. First, I started working with the normal people in South America who were living in the cities. So that was in itself quite an experience in the middle of poverty, but with very beautiful souls, which my Guru Dev called them somewhat pious, very much inclined towards Vedas and yoga and all that. But later, I had the beautiful experience of meeting the actual South Americans, the Adivasis, the First Nation people. Now you have to understand that South America has over 1,200 original tribes, of which many of them are not even contacted yet. And many are contacted, but they have decided not to go the Spanish way of life or the American way of life. They love their own lifestyle. Now, interestingly, is that their lifestyle is very similar to the Tyag, to the renunciation of yoga. For example, to become a priest in the Arhuaco tribe, you have to live 20 years in some part in a cave, no salt, absolutely no meat or fish or eggs. They're having a train up, which is like, you could say, very Baka Brahmin train up. And they believe in reincarnation. They believe in the law of karma, action and reaction. They believe in that we are soul, Atman, we are not just the physical shell. Plus, they believe in the divine, of the feminine divine and the masculine divine. And so much that they say, without spirituality, you can't solve anything. All these rational thinkers, all these proposals of all the great scientists, if there's no real spirituality, they think it's all useless anyway. Now they have come in contact with us, you could rather say. I was invited by them. They saw some of our eco-yoga communities and they became very interested. And we ended up to being the catering service for their meetings. Meaning, by now, they're eating very, very nice prasadam when we come together and we discuss what is real wisdom. Sanatana Dharma is really something, is a spirituality which is born within the heart of a living being. It is not something which just transmitted by some channel, but it comes from inside, just like the Chaitya Guru, the Paramatma is there. And when we meet our Guru, when we recognize our Guru, this is a Paramatma affair. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhakya Vanajiv Guru Krishna Prasadam Bhakti Lota Beach. That inside, when we go through this Brahmanda, we are circling around and our prayer comes. Can we meet some higher knowledge, some higher divine? Then from within the heart, it will be revealed which way to go. And we might meet our spiritual teacher of Sanatana Dharma. And then with the help of Sanatana Dharma and the soul of Paramatma, we may get our spiritual enlightenment, which we are hoping so much for. So, our spiritual teacher, Srila Prabhupada, he enthused us. He said, go in the world and make friends with everybody. Make them so much your friend that they will want to listen to you. What have you learned from your teachers? And we have been practicing that. And that has been the cause that this is an example of a tribe of Adivasis coming to our temple when we have our meetings there. They started the United Nations of the Spirit. This is something which explained in this booklet. You can find it out on the internet. The United Nations of the Spirit is a union of Vaishnavism, Hinduism, and the philosophy of the ancient tribes of the world. Plus, they're extending their arms to the world because in the Kumbh Mela 2019, they will come all to India on a big event called the Kiva Kumbh Mela, where there's going to be a temple in the heart of Mother Earth in the Kumbh Mela, where the prayer of the East and the West from the original tribes plus the yogis, the representatives of Vishwa Hindu Parishad, everybody will be together there. And you are also invited to be there. It's 14 to 17. So that is not only reaching out to the foreign lands, but bringing the foreign lands to the homeland and then taking the love in both directions. Because this is really what it is all about, uniting people. It is bringing them into that sense of appreciation that if you're suffering, I should be suffering. So I should do everything so that you don't suffer, so I will be also happy. So this whole principle is there, which is the Hindu basic, you could say, no? That's the first thing we learn. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. So how can I be happy for all the world? And that has a lot of applications. For example, environmental applications. And this is where we're talking to them. Well, this is like one of the festivals in South America. You see, people have great enthusiasm to do yajna, to do yoga. They hear Bharat and they want to go immediately. But since it's a little far away, we have to rather bring the concepts of Bharat there and have our expansions of Vrindavan. So it's very important that Mother Earth is for them an understanding of divine power. The sun is divine power. And therefore Krishna Suryahaya, Krishna is the sun, Krishna is... They can understand that immediately. And they appreciate it. And they want to be connected because, last but not least, our connectedness, it depends on our understanding how much love is there for all of us from the divine, from the Supreme Lord. He actually loves all of us. That's why he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and tells his people, go and chant around the world, go and share whatever good thing you have gotten from your spiritual grace. Thank you very much. Just 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Swami Paramadvaiti, and so beautifully he shared his works, how in South America, traveling from place to place, how he's able to reach those who are still unaware and who are away from the divine. So bringing them, and it's a wonderful thing. And I would also like to say to our Swamiji that Brahma Kumari's centers are also in South America, and you can also take their help whenever you feel like. Now I'd like to invite Swamini Hamsananda Giri from Italy. She is Italian Hindu Union Sanatan Dharma Sangh. And Swami Hamsananda Giri, Gitananda Ashram Italy, has devoted her life to the highest spiritual aims and to her Guru. His Holiness Paramhansa Guru Maharaj Swami Yogananda Giri The protection of Dharma inspired her hard and passionate work for Italian Hindu Union, Sanatana Dharma Sangh, towards granting the rights of the Hindu communities in Italy. As the Vice President of the Italian Hindu Union, she gives voice to the Hindu communities in a constant dialogue with the Italian government and its politicians, educational and religious institutions and media. She teaches Hindu philosophy, Sanskrit and yoga. So, salutations to our Matri Shakti, Vande Mataram. Italian Hindu Sanatana Dharma Sangha is very honored to have been invited to this important World Hindu Congress. I wish to thank the organizers for the invitation, and I'm happy and privileged to be able to share with you the extraordinary achievement of Sanatana Dharma in Italy, here in Chicago, the city where we all commemorate the greatness of Swami Gitananda, who had a dream that even now has not been fully relaxed. So the Italian Sanatana Dharma Sangha was officially founded thanks to the extraordinary Rishi Dristi of Paramahamsa Swami Yogananda Giri, who was the Mahant of the Hindu Monastery Mata Gitananda Ashram in Ontario, northern Italy. He had a prophetic vision that Hindu Dharma and Yoga should put a solid root in Italy. With solid root in Bharat, in Italy, the splendid Kalpa Vriksha of Sanatana Dharma flourished. Bharat Mata had welcomed us and fed us like a mother. It was clear that her profound traditions and culture could bring a great light to Western world, obscured by materialism that was wiping out its tradition and its moral and ethical values. The vision was clear to him. Hindu Dharma, with its universal values, would have entered with its Jyoti. In the beginning, Guru Maharaj Swami Yogananda founded a small traditional ashram in the forest, immersed in the nature, the same as the ancient rishis, tyagis, yogi, munis, given the opportunity to do tapas and meditation, the experience and study of high ideals of Sanatana Dharma. The first temple in Italy rose according to prescription of Vastu Shastra. The arrival in Italy of many Hindus, the lack of temples and the leadership that could represent the Hindu Dharma in its different traditions brought many devotees to ask Guru Maharaj Swamiji for help. Hence he established the Italian Hindu Union Sanatana Dharma Sangha. The brilliant Purva Drishti of Guruji inspired various devotees and communities to unite for a common ideal. So Mata Gitananda Ashram became the headquarters of all the sevas that was to be done. The Italian Constitution provides a special law article that regulates the relationship between religions and state. For many centuries, only Roman Catholic Church has had a relationship with the Italian state and special rights and privilege.
The Italian state became secular only in 1984, and only then also Jewish and other religions were recognized. So would you have thought that in Italy, the millenary cradle of Catholicism, the Sanatana Dharma would be officially recognized by government? It may seem incredible, but it is what really happened in 2012. After many years of institutional and religious work carried out by the Italian Hindu Union Sanatana Dharma Sangha. So the Sanatana Dharma Sangha was officially recognized by Italian state, then the parliament ratified a special law called Intesa. This special law that gives Hindu Dharma the highest recognition as well as guarantee collaboration with ministers and public administration. As declared in Article 24 of this special law, Diwali, the Festival of Lights, has been recognized in Italy as official Hindu religious festivities. Even thousands and thousands Hindus celebrate Hindu festivals like Durga Puja and so on, all over Italy. So the Italian Hindu Union Sanatana Dharma Sangha is a religious body which represents Hindus living in Italy. It's formed by Hindu devotees, pandit and sannyasis who are constantly involved in religious, humanitarian and social and cultural activity. So the concept of Vasudeva Kutumbakam is realized with this union. The union defends and represents all traditions and also the traditional yoga and Ayurveda and fine arts. Ayurvedic doctors are giving seva and helping even in the temples. They offer the seva for poor people. And institutional relationship and activities proceed with great success, even though for over 2 centuries a strong Eurocentric vision has cast a shadow and superficiality and prejudice onto Oriental cultures, obscuring the Paramashakti and depth of Hindu Dharma. The work to remove all this is immense. The word union suggested that the Italian Hindu Union does not represent a specific tradition, but rather all the Hindu tradition, communities, and followers of spiritual paths. Hindus become Italian citizens, people from Mauritius, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh shape the true heart of Hindu communities in Italy. Such fusion of so many different communities, with Italians too, merge into a rare and unique testimony in the world. This is a great achievement for Sanatana Dharma. One of its aims is to highlight the presence of Hindu Dharma in Italy and see all the Hindus community united, working together in spreading Hindu spirituality, culture, art and knowledge, in general through collaboration, exchange and friendship. Unfortunately, some organization does not collaborate with others, working only for themselves, providing egocentric and selfish. This attitude is a serious damage for Sanatana Dharma. It takes away the extraordinary strength of its universal value. So this extraordinary unity and collaboration is a sign of Paramashakti of Sanatana Dharma. We can do a lot. Our organization have to defend, to maintain, and to promote the extraordinary parabara of universal value and teaching of Hindu Dharma. The Sanatana Dharma Hindu Union can be expressed in 3 words: support, seva, sharing, sangha, and strength, shakti. The support of unity leads to empowerment. The word dharma is derived from the root dharana. It is dharma which holds society together. If something is about to hold people together, no doubt it is Dharma. So with the financial system, we can do a lot. Donation plus public funds can empowerment the temples. It can help for the social care and welfare. So we can do many things. As we can see in the chart of which I pinpointed two aspects to develop Hindu Dharma in Italy. There are so many aims to achieve, but it was very important to create the creation of new economy, an economy with Hindu and for Hindus, and the substitution of current humanitarian organization to help the weak people. So Hindu Dharma Mahan Banao. The Italian Hindu Union joins the efforts with businessmen and social platforms such as Comics Dome, as well as platform that it is expected to gain extraordinary success in raising funds. For this fund to be invested in social welfare, thanks to organizations such as Nari, who takes care of women. Women, mothers, and sisters need respect. So like the fingers are different but strong only together. In the same way, Dharma protects us if we are united. Yato Dharma, Tato Jaya. So I will conclude showing our last project, the project of Foundation of Hindu University. And our hope is that from the privilege of this conference world, all people should take inspiration from their spiritual sources and contribute to Sanatana Dharma. Namo Namaha Sanatana Dharma Ki Jai.
Swami Hamsananda Giri, and she has very beautifully shown us the seva and the promotion of Hindu Dharma in Italy and how we are able to reach to those people who are unaware of what yoga is, what Dharma means. And very rightly, it is said, Dharma is that which helps us or teaches us to inculcate values. And when we say that Dharma teaches us to inculcate those values which enable us to divinize our lives, and then only we are able to reach the divine. This is what our ancient culture says, Hindu Dharma tells us, and the Sanatana Dharma, or God Himself has mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Now I would like to invite our Swami Satyananda Saraswati, the Hindu Monastery of Africa, Ghana, but he is physically not well, so he is not amongst us, but in his presence, we would say we have with us Brother Kofi Sarpong and Sena Ato, who will be reading out the message of Swami Satyananda Saraswati. Swami Satyananda Saraswati is the head of the Hindu Monastery of Africa. He became a disciple of Swami Gitananda Saraswati, the first Hindu monk from Ghana. Swami Satyananda is a Ghanaian who was born a Catholic, became Hindu, and has been working for the Hindu Dharma for about over 35 years. Swamiji started his path into spiritualism at a tender age. After a successful career as an accountant, Swamiji renounced to live in the monastery. He helped his guru to restructure the monastery and to promote the teachings of Hindu Dharma. So on his behalf, Brother Sena Atul will read out his message, what he has sent to us.
Brahma Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I stand here to represent Swami Satyananda Saraswati, who, due to ill health, is not able to be with us today. He is very appreciative of being invited to this Congress. The first time an African Hindu, or the Hindu Monastery of Africa, has been invited to such a conference. The Hindu Monastery of Africa started as Divine Life Society, Ghana. Because Swami Gitananda Saraswati was initiated by Swami Gitananda Saraswati, went to stay in India for 2 years and studying the Hindu Dharma, the Vedanta, and all of it at Rishikesh. He stayed in India for 2 years, studying Vedanta, Hindu Dharma, and all the Hindu philosophy, before coming back home to Ghana to start his Divine Life Society. When he came back to Ghana, he was not initiated as Swami immediately. He started teaching Hindu Dharma in Ghana in his own small way. Indian traders in Ghana who heard of him visited the place, and when they realized that he was really teaching what Hinduism wants, they started going there in their numbers. So in 1975, the Indian traders informed then called SL Guide that there was a Hindu Swami in Ghana. He was visiting Ghana. Later it was known that he comes to Ghana to visit the Indian traders. And that was the first time SL Guide was invited to meet him. And when he met him, he decided to go to where SL Guide does his teaching. So he went to stay with him for a few weeks and left Ghana, but promised he was coming back to Ghana. When he came back to Ghana in 1975, he initiated Swami Gitananda Saraswati, the first black African into the ancient order of Sannyas. This happened in 1975, March 21. this was a very great occasion in Ghana, where the head of state at that time also came down to the inaugural ceremony of His Holiness Swami in Saraswati. After he became a Swami, Swami Gitananda did not just live in, he still came back to Ghana. And then he started teaching householder disciples. It was difficult to get them all to stay in the ashram at that time, so he arranged with them. They go to work in the day, and then at 5 in the evening, they all have to assemble in the ashram. And he taught them Hindu Dharma, he taught them Vedanta, and the number of people he got at that time was 25 people. He stayed, studied for 3 months, and then he initiated them all as disciples of Hinduism. This training continues in the Hindu Monastery of Africa till today, but this time it is not run for 3 months, but for 6 weeks. Within the 6 weeks, students are to stay in the ashram without going out to test, to taste of monastic life. And after the 6 weeks, they are 10 hours to the different branches. We have 5 branches of the Hindu Monastery of Africa in Ghana. And it happens that all these 5 branches are in the southern part of Ghana only. The middle belt and the northern part of Ghana is yet to have the Hindu Monastery of Africa establishing branches there, and then they are building temples. All the 5 branches have their 5 different temples where Hindu Dharma is practiced every day. In our practice, we go to the temple every morning at 5 a.m. where in Accra branch there's a Shiva Linga worship, there's a Devi worship, and then at 6 a.m. there's Arati, and then after the Arati we disperse for the morning. On Saturdays, before Saturday, every evening at 6 p.m. there's Arati again for all the devotees who are ready to come. That is those who live close by to the temples that we have. And quite a good number of people come in for the evening parties. Most of them go to work in the morning, so they are not able to come over to our morning devotion worships. Those who are on pension, those who are not seriously going to any work in the morning, or are self-employed and they don't have to go anywhere that early, they come for the morning devotional services. On Saturdays, there's a lot of people around because Saturday is not a seriously working day in Ghana. Workers stay out, they stay at home. So Saturday at 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. we have bhajans, kirtans, and slokas and this continues every Saturday. on Sunday, when a lot more people come, this one starts in the morning with Shiva Linga as usual, the Devi worship. And then there is a Havan that follows all this. And after the Havan, there's Arti, and after Arti, there is the teachings from any of the books. Right now, what we've been dealing with before we came on this trip, we're treating the Bhagavad Gita, where the Swami Satyananda Saraswati explains when it is read, and then he explains in the local language so that a lot more people try to understand. This goes on every weekend, and this helps in getting more people into the Hindu Monastery of Africa. Our program now is to establish a school. Land has been acquired, and so all the visitors, all the participants at this Hindu Congress are being invited to contribute to help us to establish the school. And when we get a school, then it means right from primary school, little children will start learning Samatana Dharma, and then they will continue with this. This is what happens in the Hindu Monastery of Africa, in Ghana, where Hinduism is starting and spreading to Africa. Right now, there is a branch in Lomé, the Republic of Togo, just next to the shared boundaries with Ghana. So something on Hinduism is starting there, and they are yet to have a temple built for them. So this is what happens in Africa. And with the help of everybody, we hope to spread Hinduism in Africa. And
thank you, Brother Sena, and the wonderful work that you are all doing in Africa, Ghana, and surrounding countries of Ghana. And it makes me feel very happy because I'm also born and brought up in Africa, Zambia, and we have been doing some work in mainly all the countries of Africa. So definitely in Ghana also we have our center which is also working there. Now I would also like to invite our divine spiritual brother Shri Anuttama Dasa from ISKCON, USA. Shri Anuttama Dasa is Minister of Communication for the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. He has served as a member of ISKCON's Governing Body Commission since 1999 and was its chairman in 2014. Dasa was initiated into the Vaishnava lineage by Srila Prabhupada, ISKCON's founder Acharya in Vrindavan. Vrindavan, India in 1976. Dasa also serves on the Executive Board of Religions for Peace, VRINDA, and as board member of the Religion Communicators Council. So I invite our special spiritual brother, and who has been awarded for this on the first day of inauguration.
We're just saying that a little bit, due to the pressure of time, the statement by Swamiji from Ghana, actually, they didn't get a chance to read the Guru statement, so hopefully there's, in the question and answer, we can try to make sure that happens. So, these things are always a challenge. My wife always tells me that taller people are meant to serve shorter people. They're also meant to have to crouch over lecterns. For some reason, this is part of our bad karma here, so I'll try to hold this up and speak and push the slides at the same time if I can. So, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishkaya Bhuttanation Vatavakta Swami Gitananda Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaura Bhagavachari Viriseshna Shimra Krishna Namaste everyone, good morning, Hare Krishna. So, very pleased to be here with such an esteemed group of honored panelists and wonderful participants here at this event. My particular topic is within this category, reaching the unreached, to look at Central Asia. I'll be doing so particularly from the experience of ISKCON. That's what I'm most familiar with, but I know our friends Brahma Kumaris are also there and many other organizations. I think I can. So ISKCON, as you may know, is part of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So we're followers of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 16th century Bengali saint and avatar, and primarily basing our practice on the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna. And in the Gita, we know 15th chapter, Krishna says, Mamaivam Shala Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. All living entities are parts of the divinity. They're all servants, beloved servants of the Supreme. Despite what our current religious affiliation or bodily situation may be, every soul is connected to the Lord. And Lord Chaitanya, who was our, you could say, founder of the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, he particularly emphasized this understanding of the need to go out and give people who may have forgotten their spiritual identity the opportunity to reawaken a knowledge of themselves, particularly go out of the temples and welcome all people from all particular backgrounds, and particularly by teaching the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and inviting all to join. So within the ISKCON tradition in particular, Gaudiya Vaishnavism broadly, question of discrimination is not there. All souls are eternally parts and parcels of God. All share the same ultimate goal of human life, is to awaken love of God. So with that as our kind of founding principle, ISKCON sees it as our duty, given to us by our founder, Sri Prabhupada, to try to share Krishna consciousness or the Vaishnava tradition all over the world. So therefore, we've kind of been in many places kind of the vanguard in some countries in the Americas, in some places in Africa and Europe, and as the topic is here today, in Central Asia, and then broaden that to look at Russia as well. That's kind of the place we started in that part of the world. So first, I wanted to just begin by recognizing Sadhu Priya Das. Can you stand up for just a moment, Prabhu? Sadhu Priya is actually the president of the ISKCON Temple in Moscow. Yeah, please give him a round of applause. I believe he's one of 2 Russian citizens of Indian origin in the country. Did I get that correct? And he's been there for many, many years, and he's quite an advocate of Hindu culture and Vaishnava teaching within Russia. He's done tremendous work. And anything I say wrong today is because I botched up what information he shared with me, and whatever I say right, and he gets all the credit for that. So, some of you may know that Hindu presence was there in Russia early years. This is a print of an engraving depicting a Hindu temple in Astrakhan, Russia, in the early 17th century. You can see the man in the center, he's doing artik, and I believe the gentleman over here, he's perhaps even playing some cymbals, and everyone is offering their attention to the Murti here in the corner. So there's a presence of Hindu culture many, many years back. And bringing it to the future as far as ISKCON's experience there, in 1971, our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada, visited Moscow. He was allowed to come for just a few days, 5 days. He was invited by a Russian scholar, Dr. Kotovsky, who we met, and there's an interesting recording because Prabhupada was rather astounded when this professor explained to him, as Prabhupada was sharing the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, this professor said, Swamiji, after this life, there is only death. Which Prabhupada took in his travels around the world to show how is it possible there can be so many advanced people of letters around the world that have no knowledge of the soul or of life beyond this short life. So Prabhupada found that amazing. Someone would be, particularly a professor of Indology, of course it was an atheistic, officially atheistic country at that time, so it can be understood. But he found that very interesting. But Prabhupada was not allowed to speak to anyone else, only this professor. He couldn't speak publicly, he couldn't meet with students. It was like, sorry Swamiji, thanks for coming, but you got a few days, enjoy your hotel room. That was pretty much the mood. But by Krishna's grace, Prabhupada had the opportunity. There was one young Indian man who was son of someone working in the embassy, one of the ambassador's staff, and one young Russian boy who they met. And Prabhupada spent the next 3 days teaching him about Vaishnava Dharma. And from there, this young man later became Ananta Shanti, the first initiated Vaishnava devotee in Russia. And from there started the presence of ISKCON and teaching Vaishnava tradition across Russia. So here's Prabhupada in 1971. There he is in front of the Kremlin in Moscow. And this is a scene from some of the first devotees, ISKCON devotees in Russia. It's quite an amazing history. I can't give many details here. But this is during the communist period. So this is all against the law. You can't be religious. You definitely can't teach your religion. You certainly can't share your religion with people. It's just against the law in Russia during that particular time under the communist government. But from this small seed that Prabhupada planted, they began, books were being smuggled in. They started publishing books in Armenia. They started translating books. There was a book trust office established in Sweden, began translating books in different languages and bringing them into the country. And from there it spread to other Central Asian countries, including Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Georgia, Ukraine, Belarus, etc. And meanwhile, of course, the government became aware that there was this underground Krishna movement occurring in Russia. So at that point in time, some persecution began from the government. Many Christian devotees were arrested or put in jail. Some people, as was, was done during that era in Russia, there was some people actually put in mental institutions with psychotic drugs and things, and horrible experiences. Some people died in prison. But in 1998, the laws changed at the time of perestroika. ISKCON was legally registered in 1998. Became the first religious organization in Moscow since World War II to be registered in Russia. And in 1989, just 1 year later, Christian devotees traveled to India and they met with Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in New Delhi. So that's quite a historic opportunity there. Today, there are about 120 Hare Krishna centers registered in Russia. This is a photograph. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a picture of the temple itself in Russia, but this is the altar inside the main temple in Moscow. Today, we published 17 million books in the Russian language, mostly Bhagavad Gitas, and many other Central Asian languages, Armenian, Kazakh language, Georgian language, etc. Many public festivals. This is following the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya, chanting in the streets in Moscow and other cities. Rath Yatra in Moscow, just on August 11th, just a few weeks ago. Thousands of participants were there partaking. This is the 30th annual Rath Yatra in Moscow. Beautiful Jagannath cart. And there's another picture of the crowd. I'm in Washington, D.C. We have a big Rath Yatra. We don't have those juggernaut plates. I always think the Russians are so much more artistic than the Americans are. I have to try to copy that in Washington. Here's a big festival, another festival in Russia, and another shot of that. So a lot of interest. I will, got, 3 minutes, it went up. Oh, good. Krishna says the Bhagavad Gita, I am time, so he's the greatest mystic. It said 2 minutes before. Now it's 3, thank you. That was very good. Can you make it say 4? No, I can't do that, okay. Even yogis have limited powers. You know, you can only stretch time so far. Some observations and lessons learned. First, as we've heard in other parts of the world, there's great interest, particularly in Russia and some of these Central Asian countries. Tremendous interest, going back historically, as that one slide I showed, about India, about Hindu teachings, about Hindu culture, and there's even studies being done, similarities in the languages. There's many words in Russian that seem to have Sanskrit origins. There's experts here in the room that know more about that than I do. So there's a tremendous interest going back historically, similarities. 2, today, tremendously popular. Yoga is popular in Russia, vegetarianism is on the rise, meditation. There's a lot of interest in some of these core Vedic teachings. And of course, as I mentioned, many groups are also very active in Russia, and that's wonderful in addressing the interest of the people. Third observation, the friendly relationships between India and Russia have been very helpful in protecting Hindu culture, Hindu Dharma in Russia. That's one of the things that actually has allowed many of us to continue, is this long-standing historical closeness that's there. Fourth observation, there are, notwithstanding, many challenges to practicing our traditions there. Some of you may know in Tomsk, Russia, just a couple years ago, there was a case in court where the government, the local prosecutor, attempted to label the Bhagavad Gita an extremist literature. Now, if you're an extremist literature in Russia, that means you're teaching extremist philosophy. That means you are an extremist. That means you are a danger to the country. You're in big trouble. And there was academics in Russia stood up and had a whole conference protesting against this, an academic conference, to say this is nonsense. Thanks to our friends in India government, there was actually a walkout at the Lok Sabha protesting. How can you say the Bhagavad Gita is an extremist literature, etc. So that case was one. That's an example of a challenge. There is what's called anti-cult efforts there. There's some people who feel that any religion that is not perhaps even, outside of their own purview of what's a religious faith is dangerous. And those people make some trouble for all of us. There are conservative voices within some of the traditional churches there who believe that Russia should only have one faith, and they are opposed to other diversity. So therefore there are some legal bills and things like that coming through. So I'll just end with one final comment and word of caution. If we want to be facilitated to have growth of Hindu traditions in anywhere represented on this panel, of our faith, of our culture, if we want to be respected, if we want to be able to practice our faith, if we want to be able to teach our children to open our temples, we also must be prepared to protect and even fight for the rights and religious freedom of others. We cannot expect it for ourselves anywhere in the world if we don't protect it for others. Limited in all countries by a reasonable and balanced rule of law, that should be there for all of us. But real universality means if we're going to actually expect people to protect our rights, our religious freedom, we also have to be prepared to do the same for others. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Brother Anuttama. And I would like to invite our brother from Ghana to read out the message of Swami Satyananda and Saraswati.
Sorry about the time. At this point, I will quickly read the message from His Holiness Swami Satyananda Saraswati. And his message that he wanted to deliver to the conference. It says we stand at the It says we stand at the transcendental period in history. He refers to especially the whole world and especially Ghana and Africa. And it says the Hindu monastery welcomes with unique and divine gratitude the opportunity to pay respect to His Holiness Swami Vivekananda. His rendition of spiritual philosophy and practice stands at a unique and undefeatable contribution to human upliftment. I pay tribute of congratulations to the World Hindu Congress. Its monumental achievement dwarfs every word I have or wish to say, but permit me to state my recognition of appreciation to address this historic occasion. Also, I plead your indulgence to permit me to pay honor to the memory of His Holiness Swami Gitananda Saraswati, the first African Hindu monk, for his contribution in promoting and encouraging the spiritual development and upliftment of thousands of devotees in Ghana and Africa. In a continent characterized by religious and sectarian bigotry, we cannot underestimate the sacrificial conduct and exemplary leadership of His Holiness Swami Gitananda Saraswati, the first African monk and a member of Eternal Order of Sannyasi. It is in this context that we relate the historic address of His Holiness Swami Vivekananda in Chicago in 1893, a landmark tribute to scientific religion. It is also in recognition of the spiritual and selfless courage, the essence of all dedication to the ultimate truth. To this point, an emphasis of my considered opinion, I wish to state that Hinduism is not a religion or a sect. I have come to this serious, considered opinion on my teachings of my spiritual benefactor, His Holiness Swami Gitananda Saraswati, His Holiness Swami Krishnanand Saraswati, and the glorious teachings of His Holiness Swami Vivekananda. Religion is an inescapable obligation of all living things. Hinduism reflects this fundamental reality. In essence, Hinduism is a universal expression of the nature of man, the need for worship, and the innate desire for the search of the absolute, which is within and without, but ever present in all things. I will need to mention in relation to all things the universality of religion expressed in the principle of Sanatana Dharma. This point may need to be explained. Sanatana Dharma represents the innate desire of man to fulfill his relationship with the supreme controller of the universal phenomena. We need to unveil the cobwebs of illusion and proceed to unite with the ultimate. It is to this point that the address of His Holiness Swami Vivekananda stands as a literary monument to human spiritual upliftment. In his deeds, he represents a great contribution and distinguished monument of courage, endurance, and sacrifice. His address 125 years ago speaks a lot of spiritual courage and dedication. But this exemplary life speaks louder and clearer. It has provided an incentive and encouragement to dedicate our lives to the eternal struggle for self-realization. But the life of Swami Vivekananda was not for the sake of his personal self-realization. His address in Chicago 125 years ago reveals a commitment of sacrifice for spiritual progress of all humanity. His life is a story of self-sacrifice. In the age of materialist aims and culture, to speak of religious devotion about the Supreme to the people is very challenging. Let us pray at the feet of Lord that we can meet the standard of His Holiness Swami Vivekananda in Ghana and other African countries. I also pay tribute and reverence to the statement by Shri Satya Sai Baba to the effect that life is not only about struggle for the standard of living, but more importantly about the standard of life. It is to this effect that speech of His Holiness Swami Vivekananda holds historical and spiritual memory and tribute to religion. To the glory of His Holiness, I remark and pay tribute to the outstanding courage to deliver such a literal edifice on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord in a continent unfamiliar with the essence of Sanatana Dharma. The soul of Bharat, the echo of the rishis, the voice of Ramakrishna, the mouthpiece of the resurgent time spirit, is a unique statement of inspiration. It is in this regard that I congratulate the organizers of the World Hindu Congress for their unique dedication and courage of Hinduism. Now, to this end, I propose support for the following project, which I have named Spreading the Sanatana Dharma. For over 43 years, the Hindu Monastery of Africa, despite its remarkable success, has only managed to establish presence in 3 regions out of 10 in Ghana, and then 1 branch in Lume too. To reach the unreached, we have to train young graduates for at least a period of 6 months. They will then be posted to respective regions, starting with the western region, the Volta, and the eastern regions of Ghana. It is our hope that we'll be able to train Brahmins for each of these regions. These selected devotees, whilst under training, will receive allowances from the monastery. Upon their posting to the various temples, and trainees will be paid an approved staff salary. These young Brahmins will have the obligation to establish effective branches within 2 years. By so doing, we will be able to reach the unreached areas within Ghana. The following also represents our need for social and economic upliftment of our people. The monastery has plans to establish a school and a clinic. This will be a graceful and selfless desire of His Holy Swami Gitananda Saraswati, but could not materialize until his attainment of Maha Samadhi. The school aims to train young Hindu children with Hindu doctrine that will help them to develop and provide them with a solid foundation, a path for self-mastery and ultimate union with the Absolute. The Hindu Monastery of Africa, by the grace of God, has acquired 10 acres of land in which the school and clinic project will be built. I would like to say on behalf of the Hindu Monastery of Africa and the grace of His Holiness Swami Krishnananda Saraswati, founder of the Hindu Monastery of Africa, and His Holiness Swami Gitananda Saraswati, the first African Hindu monk, and all the disciples and devotees, I wish you all my blessings and fruitful deliberations. May the lotus feet of the Lord be a reminder to us that we are ever secured. Hari Om Tat.
Thank you very much for the message. And now we do not have any questions, so we shall all sit in silence for a few moments. There is one question from
Thank you. In the particular case of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's efforts in the world, he always put in the forefront prasada, food of the soul, that which is offered to Krishna, and which has been distributed by the millions of plates, by all the monks and the laymen who are connected with this mission around. There's food for life going on even in emergency places like Haiti, earthquake, and many other places. So food always as the first aid for the belly has been on the forefront. And our Swamiji, he used to say, we can conquer the world with prasada. Just like in Jagannath Puri, everybody goes to get Jagannath Prasad. And this purifies the mind and it makes like love goes through the stomach. So I think, thank you very much for reminding us that this. And besides that, there's so many welfare programs, educational programs done by the different centers that will be no time to enumerate them.
There are many langars going on in India also by the Punjabi Sikh people who have langars, and hundreds of people go there and have their prasad, whoever wants to. Similarly, in various parts of India, we have people who organize such catering also, and are able to go to those poor and they give them prasad, definitely. So it is not just devotion, but as it is mentioned in Gita also, that when the devotion is there, together with that, even in various other stories, kathas, also it is mentioned that those whoever have insulted prasad, definitely they have to encounter with some of the other problems in life. So the importance of prasad or grain in each and every communities or the various centers that are going on, whether they may be of different Hindu groups, but definitely the importance of prasad is everywhere. Whether it is ISKCON, we find that there are prasad there also, in other Hindu monasteries also, in our Italy also, and in Brahma Kumaris as well. The feeding of, especially on certain festivals, occasions, we reach out to the people and feed them, definitely. So it is not that only devotion, but there is importance.
I like to add also education, very important, especially the education how to grow organic food in our eco-yoga farms, have attracted volunteers from the schools, from the universities, and it has been highly appreciated that we have this care for Mother Earth, that we should have food offered to Krishna produced without chemicals. That also being an important part.
Even Brahma Kumaris have started yogic agriculture, that is giving meditation vibrations to the environment also, to the nature also, and to agriculture lands also. And they have come out with very beautiful results, that when they do meditation, then it is seen that in some farms there were locust attack, and when they were doing meditation, that particular farm, the locust was not able to enter into those premises, as if it was like an aura that was surrounding the thing. So not just organic, but together with organic, yogic farming is also being done in India by the Brahma Kumaris, and various agricultural universities are also doing research on the impact of meditation on land, on grains, and the quality of grains, and the nutrition value of that particular grain. So this is how it is seen that slowly and gradually the agriculture in India is trying to become free from the pest controls also. And it is a very nice achievement in various parts of India. Brahma Kumaris have started this in rural developments also, the yogic farming and yogic agriculture.
I also like to add that in Ghana, we're doing something very, very similar, whereby every month, once in every month, what we do is we go to the hospitals and then we donate food to them. We used to donate clothing, but apparently now they don't like them anymore. It's unfortunate that. So what we do is we go to the hospitals and we give them food. We give them soups, we give them basic necessities, even if it's biscuits, we just share it to them. And it's one of those things that we do a lot. And at the end of every year, we go to the biggest hospital in Ghana, in the Accra, the capital. And then on the 25th of December, that's Christmas, where everybody's supposed to rededicate that time to do social service. Just to let them know that apart from the devotion aspect that we've got in Hinduism, we're also doing the social side of things. And it helps them a lot. And to answer your question, I think that's the lot that I can add to that. Thank you very much.
So, I think that it was a beautiful session and all the insights that were shared by our eminent speakers. So before just getting up, I would request that if you can sum up the whole session with the 2 minutes of silence in the remembrance of the Supreme.